Ms. Block, you have the floor for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all of our witnesses for joining us here today. Of course, we've had the opportunity to hear from the Auditor General on a number of occasions, which I think is quite right to be having you appear before a number of committees, given the seriousness of your last report tabled in the House of Commons. But my questions, I believe I'm going to aim at the Treasury Board Secretariat or the Treasury Board. So given what we have learned over the past 18 months, and certainly more recently through the Procurement Ombudsman's report, the Auditor General's report, and actually testimony from witnesses, there appears to be a lack of oversight across government departments. One of the main reasons for this, as we heard yesterday, is due to the lack of enforcement of the Financial Administration Act across departments. So my question for you, Mr. Hoope, or whoever would like to answer, is your department responsible for ensuring the compliance of other departments with this act, or is it up to departments to police themselves?
So that's a very good question, Mr. Chair. I would say dual accountability. Okay, as I explained, departments operate within a set of authorities that have been delegated to them. So the expectation is that when they do operate within these authorities, that they have the measures in place to ensure compliancy to the different rules and legislation, and they have to abide by the Financial Administration Act. At Treasury Board, when there's a transaction or a project, for example, that's above the departmental delegation, they need to go through, Treasury Board ministers for the authorities to, for example, enter into a contract, for the authorities to launch a project that's not within their set of accountability. So there is some oversight there. And there are general oversight. I own, for example, the internal audit community, and I have a role to play in delivering every year some horizontal audits across government. So we're trying to line up our work between, what Auditor General is doing, what the other bodies are doing to make sure we don't duplicate. So yeah, there are measures being taken to ensure compliancy. But again, non-compliancy will sadly be found in some of these reviews.
Thank you very much. Your website states, and I quote, "The Secretariat ensures tax dollars are spent wisely and effectively for Canadians, and that you oversee and provide guidance to the Treasury Board of Ministers," as you've just noticed, on how government is managed and how it regulates. Since your department is responsible for the oversight of spending taxpayers' dollars and ensuring that they are spent wisely, and given that the issue of ArriveCAN has been in the news for the last 18 months, who in your department is being held accountable for the failures of the ArriveCAN app?
Right now, what we're trying to, first of all, we take the findings extremely seriously. So as Treasury Board, we are looking, all of us there. There's notions that came out that deal with financial records not being in place, procurement practices. There's also a notion of conflict of interest. There's also a notion of, augmentation from an IT perspective. So it plays on many of the different roles that we oversee at Treasury Board. And right now, as I said, we are taking this very seriously and putting an action plan together to ensure that our role will be played in this particular situation. But I would go above and beyond that. I'm looking personally beyond ArriveCAN, right? My worry is that the system of controls need to be there everywhere. And like I said, we have a solid financial community. We have a solid, I would say, procurement community. Sadly, we see stuff like that happening. But we still need to make sure that, so I've instructed, as an example, the chief audit executives of every department about a week and a half ago to make really, really sure that they had a review of their procurement practices in the coming year, as an audit within their department. So there are things that we're doing to make sure that our accountability is discharged.
So really quickly, do you think your department did its job during the pandemic to ensure value for money for Canadians?
Honestly, from what I've seen, and I'll speak for myself, I'd like to think that, yes, again, there was no playbook with the pandemic. It was a first time. I think that genuinely there was a lot of people, wanted to ensure that the right decisions were being made. Again, I'm not going to waste time and explain it again, but we did take the time to make sure that departments understood what it meant to operate, outside the normal control framework of the government. If that was the case, need for documentation, need for audits to be done. So I think we did provide direction. Could you always be better? Perhaps, but we did take our role very seriously during the pandemic.
Thank you very much.